Rain clung to the dusty windows of the small, crumbling house as Liana stood frozen in the living room, her hands trembling while her husband, Dumile, unleashed another wave of insults. His voice thundered through the walls, dripping with disgust as he pointed at her worn dress and tired face. "You bring nothing into my life, Liana. Nothing. I'm done struggling with a woman who has no worth," he snapped, loud enough for his mother and siblings to hear. They smirked. She swallowed the lump in her throat, and then in front of them all he said the words that shattered her heart. "I'm leaving you. I've found someone better." The room spun. Liana's knees weakened, but before a single tear could fall, her phone buzzed. A calm voice on the line said, "Miss Liana, it's time. Your mother's inheritance is ready for transfer. Please come to my office immediately." Her breath caught. Dumile had no idea he was throwing away a woman worth $50 million. "Before we continue, tell me your location and local time in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories like this." The night air wrapped around Liana like a cold, unforgiving cloak as she stood outside the house that had once felt like a home. Now, it was nothing more than a place of humiliation, four walls that had echoed with insults, disappointment, and emotional wounds she could never fully hide. The cracked wooden door slammed behind her, shaking dust loose from its hinges. Dumile didn't even bother to look back. "Take your things and get out. I don't want to see you here again," he barked through the doorway. His mother, arms folded and lips curled in satisfaction, pushed an old torn duffel bag into Liana's chest. "A woman who brings no money, no value. What good are you here?" she sneered. The bag was lighter than she remembered because Dumile had probably thrown away half her belongings. One of his sisters laughed under her breath, loud enough for Liana to hear. Liana swallowed the ache in her throat. I have nowhere to go." "That's not my problem," Dumile snapped, stepping into view, adjusting his shirt as though he were preparing for a night out. "You'll survive. People like you always do somehow." His words were sharp, callous, and meant to sting. They succeeded. She stared at him one last time, hoping to see something, anything human in his eyes, but all she found was annoyance, arrogance, and the certainty of a man who believed he had traded up in life. He believed his future was bright now that he had abandoned his poor burden of a wife. He believed that everything ahead would be easier without her. He had no idea how wrong he was. Liana turned away, clutching the thin handles of the bag, and walked down the small gravel path toward the gate. Each step felt heavier than the last. She had married for love. She had given her all, and this was how it ended, thrown out like rubbish. Neighbors peeked through their windows, some whispering, others shaking their heads. Some pitied her. Others thought she deserved it for not being enough. The quiet murmurs burned deep in her chest, but she kept her head forward. When she reached the gate, she exhaled shakily and stepped onto the dark road. The streetlights flickered weakly, barely illuminating her path. Her sandals scraped against the pavement as she walked, not knowing where she was going, only that she needed to get far away before the tears she fought so hard to hold back finally broke free. The world was quiet, except for the distant barking of stray dogs and the faint hum of a car engine. Liana tightened her grip on her bag. The neighborhood felt different now, hostile, cold, full of eyes that judged her for being heartbroken and penniless. After several minutes, she finally stopped beneath a fading lamppost and took out her phone. Her hand shook as she scrolled through her contacts. There was only one person she could call Amaya, a childhood friend she hadn't spoken to in months. They had drifted apart due to life's demands, but Amaya had always been kind. After 2 rings, a warm voice answered. "Liana, this is a surprise. Are you okay?" Liana's voice cracked. "Amaya, can I come over? Just for tonight?" Without hesitation, her friend replied, "Of course. Come, whatever you need, I'm here." Liana felt her knees weaken with relief. "Thank you," she whispered. She hung up and began walking again toward the safest place she knew. But she didn't notice the sleek black SUV parked half a block behind her. Its tinted windows hid the man inside, watching her with unsettling focus. The same vehicle had lingered near Dumile's house earlier, but she had been too distraught to notice. The SUV's engine vibrated quietly, following her slowly, matching her pace without drawing attention. Every time she turned a corner, the car turned too, always keeping just enough distance to remain hidden in shadows. Liana finally reached Amaya's small apartment complex. Her friend rushed down the stairs as soon as she saw her. "Oh my goodness, Liana. What happened? You look like you've been through hell." Liana forced a sad smile. "Something like that." Amaya wrapped an arm around her shoulders and guided her inside. Warm lights, the smell of cooking spices, and soft cushions greeted her. The contrast between this place and the cold street outside nearly made her cry again. Over a hot cup of ginger tea, Liana finally told Amaya everything: Dumile's cruelty, the humiliation, being thrown out. She said nothing about the strange phone call yet. She wasn't even sure if she believed it herself. "That man never deserved you," Amaya said fiercely. "But you're safe now. Stay as long as you need." Liana nodded gratefully, but as she settled into the couch, exhaustion washed over her. She drifted into a restless sleep. Meanwhile, outside the complex, the black SUV pulled up to the curb. The window slid down just enough for the driver to speak into a small device. "She's inside. No trouble so far," he said quietly. A voice responded through the earpiece. "Good. Keep eyes on her until morning. Do not approach. Do not be seen." "Yes, sir." Everyone. The window went up. The SUV remained in place, silent, watchful, protective. Hours later, Liana awoke just before dawn. The apartment was quiet except for the low hum of the refrigerator. Amaya was still asleep. Liana slipped out to the balcony to breathe in the cool morning air. Her mind replayed the call from the night before. "Your mother's inheritance is ready." It felt unreal, like a dream she didn't dare trust, but something inside her whispered that everything was about to change. Far below, the same black SUV sat parked under a tree. Liana didn't know it yet. Her life was no longer falling apart. It was only beginning. The morning sky glowed with a pale gold hue, as sunlight gently filtered through the thin curtains of Amaya's living room. Liana sat quietly on the small sofa, hands wrapped around a warm cup of tea. Her thoughts swirled like a storm inside her chest, refusing to settle. Every time she remembered Dumile's voice, cold, sharp, dripping with disdain, her stomach tightened. But right beside that pain, another memory lingered. The mysterious phone call. "Your mother's inheritance is ready for transfer." The words echoed like a distant drumbeat she couldn't ignore. When Amaya entered the room, still in her pajamas, she studied Liana's face closely. "You barely slept," she murmured. "I had a lot on my mind," Liana answered softly. Amaya sat beside her. "Do you want to talk about it?" Liana hesitated. The truth still sounded too unbelievable to say out loud. But if she couldn't trust her childhood friend, who could she trust? "There's something else," she finally whispered. "Just before Dumile threw me out, I got a phone call from a lawyer." Amaya raised an eyebrow. "A lawyer?" he said. "That my mother left me an inheritance." Liana took a shaky breath. "And that I should come to his office today." Amaya blinked, processing the information carefully. "Your mother? But, Liana, she passed away when we were little. How could there be something left for you after all this time?" "I don't know," Liana admitted. But the lawyer sounded serious. He said it was urgent. Amaya placed a gentle hand over hers. "Then you should go. You deserve answers." Liana nodded. "Will you come with me?" "Of course," Amaya said without hesitation. "You're not doing this alone." They finished their tea, dressed quickly, and called a taxi. As they stepped outside, morning traffic buzzed with life motorcycles weaving through cars, street vendors shouting their breakfast specials, children rushing to school. But something felt off. Liana sensed eyes on her. She glanced around, scanning the parked vehicles. That's when she saw it, the same black SUV from last night, parked near the corner. Dark windows, engine off, motionless, watching. Her breath hitched. "Amaya," she whispered, nodding subtly toward the vehicle. That car. It was near the house last night, too. Amaya frowned, examining it carefully. Do you think someone is following you? I don't know, Liana whispered. But it feels strange. Before either of them could react, the taxi arrived, honking twice. Liana climbed in quickly, tugging Amaya with her. She didn't dare look back until the taxi merged into traffic. When she finally glanced through the rear window, the SUV was gone, but the unease remained. The taxi slowed in front of a tall glass building nestled between two office towers. A polished gold plaque near the door read, Naba and Associates Legal and Private Estates Management. This is it, Amaya said. Squeezing Liana's hand, Liana exhaled slowly, gathering courage. She stepped into the marble-floored lobby, where a receptionist greeted them with a warm smile. Good morning. How may I assist you? I'm here to see Mr. Nadaba, Liana replied. My name is Liana Maseko. The receptionist's smile brightened, as though she had been expecting her. Of course, Miss Maseko. Please have a seat. I will let him know you've arrived. The two women sat on a sleek leather couch. Liana rubbed her hands together anxiously, her pulse quickening. After a few minutes, a tall, well-dressed man with silver-framed glasses stepped into the lobby. Miss Maseko? He said warmly. Yes, she replied, standing. I am attorney Sebusiso Ndaba. It is an honor to finally meet you. Please, follow me. There is Everway. He led them down a quiet hallway into a spacious office, filled with shelves of thick legal books and framed certificates. Sunlight poured in through the large windows. Please, have a seat, he said, as he settled behind his desk. Liana sat, feeling as though the room itself was holding its breath. Miss Maseko, the lawyer began gently. I understand this may come as a shock, but your mother, the late Miss Namvula Maseko, left behind an extensive estate that she arranged to be transferred to you upon reaching adulthood. Liana's eyes widened. My mother had an estate? Ndaba nodded. A very large one. But she was always struggling, working odd jobs, barely able to feed us. The lawyer's expression softened. Your mother lived simply by choice, not by force. She belonged to a wealthy and influential family but chose to leave that life behind. She reserved every asset she owned for you, to be given only if deemed necessary. Liana felt her breath catch. Why, now? Your mother left specific instructions, Ndaba explained. She wrote that her daughter would someday face a moment of great hardship. When that moment came, her inheritance should be released. Her chest tightened. A moment of great hardship. Being thrown out, humiliated, abandoned, yes. It was hardship indeed. Ndaba continued, sliding a folder across the desk. Inside this file is a breakdown of all her assets, properties, investments, trust funds, and the primary inheritance. In total, the estate is valued at approximately $50 million. The world tilted. Liana stared at the lawyer, unable to speak. 50 million? Yes. Amaya gasped, covering her mouth with both hands. Liana gripped the edge of the chair. The room felt too warm suddenly. Too bright. This can't be real. Ndaba smiled gently. It is real, Miss Maseko. I have spent years managing and protecting your mother's estate. She left everything to you. He opened the folder for her. Inside were deeds, bank statements, investment portfolios, photographs of properties, a mansion, an estate farm, several businesses, all linked to her mother's name. I know this is overwhelming, the lawyer said. Take your time, but understand, your life is about to change. In fact, measures have already been put in place to ensure your safety. Safety? Liana asked, confused. Ndaba folded his hands. Your mother was aware that great wealth attracts danger. She instructed that once you received the estate, a private security team would quietly watch over you. You may have noticed them already. Liana froze. The black SUV. Yes, Ndaba confirmed. They are assigned to protect you, not to frighten you. Relief and fear collided inside her chest. She didn't know whether to cry or laugh. "What happens next?" she whispered. "You will be relocated immediately to a secure property your mother prepared for you," Ndaba replied. "A team will assist you in transitioning, learning to manage the estate, and stepping into your new life." Liana stared at him, tears forming in her eyes. All her life, she had been treated as if she were nothing. Her husband had thrown her away like useless trash. But here she was, the heir to a fortune she had never imagined. A legacy built by the mother she missed every single day. She asked quietly, "Why didn't she tell me?" Ndaba's voice softened. "She wanted you to grow with humility, strength, and kindness. She believed that true character is shaped in struggle, not comfort. And she trusted that when the time came, you would rise." A tear slipped down Liana's cheek. Amaya reached for her hand and whispered, "Your mother believed in you, and she was right." For the first time in years, Liana felt something warm bloom inside her hope. She straightened her back. "I'm ready." Ndaba smiled. "Then let us begin." Outside, the city buzzed, unaware that a new chapter of destiny had just opened, and Liana Maseko, once dismissed as worthless, was stepping into a life that would shock everyone who ever underestimated her. The drive to the estate felt unreal, like drifting through someone else's dream. Liana sat in the back seat of a luxurious black sedan, her fingers nervously interlocked as the city landscape slowly transformed into wide, open greenery. The tall buildings shrank behind them, replaced by rolling fields, trimmed hedges, and towering acacia trees swaying in the morning breeze. Beside her, Amaya stared out the window in awe, her mouth slightly open. "I still can't believe this," Amaya whispered. "You, owning an estate? Liana, this is insane." Liana offered a faint smile. "I keep thinking I'll wake up and everything will disappear." The security SUV followed close behind, its presence a constant reminder that her life had just shifted into something far bigger and far more dangerous than she had ever imagined. After nearly 40 minutes, the sedan turned onto a long, private road lined with old stone lanterns. At the end of the path, an enormous wrought iron gate slowly opened as they approached, revealing a massive mansion bathed in sunlight. The structure was breathtaking, a blend of modern design and old African architecture, with wide verandas, tall pillars, carved wooden doors, and walls draped with creeping vines. A peaceful fountain stood in the center of a stone courtyard, water cascading from the carved sculpture of a lioness. Amaya gasped, "Liana, this is a palace!" Liana's heart pounded. "My mother lived here?" she whispered. The sedan stopped near the entrance. Two security guards stepped forward, opening the doors respectfully. Liana climbed out, her legs trembling slightly. "Welcome home, Miss Maseko," the head guard said. The words felt like a physical force hitting her chest. Home, a word that had never felt more foreign or more needed. Before she could respond, the large wooden doors of the mansion swung open. A woman in her late 60s hurried out, her gray braids bouncing as she rushed toward them. She wore a simple uniform, but her eyes held a familiar warmth that pierced straight into Liana's heart. "Oh, child, oh, my sweet child," the woman cried, her voice trembling. She cupped Liana's face with weathered hands. "You look just like her, just like your mother." Liana's breath hitched. "Did you know her?" The woman nodded, tears forming. "My name is Naledi. I served your mother since before you were born. I stayed to care for this place after she passed. She made me promise that when you returned, I would welcome you with open arms." Liana blinked rapidly, overwhelmed. "I've missed her for so long. I didn't even know she had all this." Naledi smiled sadly. "She hid her wealth to protect you. She wanted you to grow strong, not spoiled. She believed hardship builds heart." Liana lowered her gaze, ashamed of how broken she had felt just hours earlier. "She would be disappointed in me then." Naledi shook her head firmly. "No, she would be proud. You survived things she prayed you'd never face." Maid. Behind them, the staff stood in a respectful line, housekeepers, gardeners, a chef, a driver, all bowing their heads slightly, as if acknowledging royalty. Liana felt her throat tighten. I don't deserve this kind of respect. Naledi squeezed her hand gently. You deserve all of it. You are your mother's daughter. Inside the mansion, sunlight spilled through enormous windows, illuminating polished wooden floors, handcrafted sculptures, and framed paintings of African landscapes. Every corner felt alive with memories of a woman Liana had barely known. Naledi guided them through the grand foyer, past the sweeping staircase and into an airy living room filled with plush furniture and warm colors. Your mother designed every detail, Naledi said proudly. She wanted her home to feel like the earth itself hugged you. Liana touched the back of a carved chair, feeling the grooves beneath her fingers. It's beautiful. A man in a charcoal suit approached a tall, handsome figure with a calm demeanor and kind eyes. Miss Masako, he greeted. Liana turned. Yes? My name is Themba. I am your personal estate manager. Your mother hired me shortly before her passing to one day assist you in managing her properties, finances, and any business matters. Business matters? Liana repeated, startled. He nodded. Your mother owned several companies. You now hold every controlling share. Liana's stomach twisted. I don't know anything about running companies. That's why we exist, Themba replied gently. Your mother prepared the best team to guide you, Amaya whispered. Liana, you're literally a CEO now. Liana nearly sat down from the shock. Themba smiled. There's no rush. Today is just for familiarization. Would you like a tour of the residence? Before Liana could answer, Naledi stepped forward. First, she should see her mother's room. Liana nodded immediately. Naledi led them up the stairs to a quiet hallway. She stopped at a door with a delicate gold plaque that read Namvula's Sanctuary. Slowly, Naledi pushed it open. The room was soft and warm, filled with gentle light. A large bed with white linens sat against the wall, surrounded by shelves of books, photographs, and trinkets. On a table near the window stood a small wooden box carved with intricate patterns. Liana walked toward it instinctively, her fingers brushing its surface. There is something inside for you, Naledi whispered. With trembling hands, Liana opened the box. Inside lay a handwritten letter sealed with a dried flower. Her breath hitched. It's from my mother. Naledi nodded. She wrote it when she knew her time was short. Liana gently unfolded the letter, her eyes scanning the graceful handwriting. My beloved Liana, if you are reading this, it means life has dealt you a blow I wish to protect you from. I am sorry. I left you wealth, but I also left you hardship because strength is not born from comfort. You are powerful, even if you don't yet know it. When the world turns cruel, rise. When people underestimate you, glow brighter. When they throw you away, grow roots elsewhere. This estate, these fortunes, they belong to you. But your heart, your kindness, those are your true riches. You will flourish, my child. You will become everything I dreamed. With eternal love, your mother. By the time she reached the end, tears streamed down Liana's cheeks. Amaya hugged her tightly as Naledi cried quietly beside them. Your mother loved you more than anything, Naledi whispered. She wanted you to have the life she couldn't. Liana wiped her tears, straightened her shoulders, and took a deep breath. I will honor her, she said softly but firmly. I will not fail her. Themba approached quietly. There is more to show you, Miss Masako. The estate is vast gardens, guest houses, the farm, the business offices, your mother's private study, and the people who have been watching over you, Naledi added. Your mother wanted you safe. The world is not always kind to women of wealth. Liana's mind wandered briefly to the black SUV. I want to meet them, she said. You will, Themba answered. In time. As they walked through the estate, Liana saw the vast garden blooming with vibrant flowers, the sparkling pool reflecting sunlight like diamonds, and the tranquil lake behind the mansion where birds gathered. Every corner breathed peace, peace her mother had built but never lived long enough to enjoy. Her footsteps echoed through the empty halls, her heart swelling with gratitude and grief. But among the silence, she sensed it a presence watching from afar. From behind a tall acacia tree near the lake, a figure dressed in a black suit observed her quietly. The same protector from the SUV. He nodded once, acknowledging her new place in the world. Liana didn't feel afraid. For the first time in her life, she felt protected. For the first time, she felt chosen. And for the first time, she felt powerful. Everything her husband thought she lacked, she possessed tenfold. Her transformation had begun. A storm was coming, one that would change her destiny forever. Morning sunlight streamed gently across the estate grounds, illuminating every petal, leaf, and stone with a warm brilliance that felt almost unreal. Liana stood on the balcony of the master suite, the cool breeze brushing against her skin as she looked out at the sprawling gardens below. She had woken up expecting the nightmare of her past to return, the insults, the poverty, the constant fear of disappointing someone who never loved her. But instead, she found herself standing in a sanctuary built by a mother who had silently prepared a throne for her daughter. The peace was overwhelming, but peace wasn't something she intended to settle into. Not yet. Not when she had spent years being told she was worthless. Now that she knew the truth, she felt a fierce determination rising inside her, like a flame that had been waiting for oxygen. A knock sounded gently at the door. "Come in," Liana said. Themba entered, carrying a set of folders. "Good morning, Miss Maseko." "I trust you slept well?" She nodded. "It still feels unreal. A new world always does at first," he said kindly. "But you will adjust, and when you do, you will flourish." He set the folders down on a nearby table and stepped aside as three women entered the room, stylish, confident, and carrying various cases and tools. "Miss Maseko," Themba continued, "this is your personal styling and presentation team. Your mother arranged for the best in the industry to be available when the time came." "My styling team?" Liana blinked. The tallest of the three women stepped forward with a bright smile. "Good morning. I'm Samira, your lead stylist. These are Zinhla and Kira, hair and skincare specialists. We're here to help you step into your new role with confidence." Samira studied Liana with a professional gaze, then beamed. "You have a stunning natural look. With a little polish, you'll be unstoppable." Liana instinctively touched her cheek. "I don't know anything about fashion or luxury." Samira laughed gently. "That's what we're here for. Your mother wanted you to have every advantage," Themba added, "but the final decisions are always yours." Liana exhaled, nodding slowly. "All right. I trust you." Within minutes, the room transformed into a buzzing creative studio. Racks of clothing, designer dresses, elegant suits, evening gowns, tailored trousers rolled inside. Samira held fabrics against Liana's skin to test which colors illuminated her best. Zinhla examined her hair texture lovingly, while Kira studied her skin tone with delight. "Your melanin is glorious," Kira murmured. "We'll give you a glow worthy of your heritage." It was the first time anyone had spoken to Liana with such admiration. The kindness felt foreign but comforting. For hours, she sat through hair conditioning treatments, gentle exfoliation, manicure sessions, and careful styling. The team worked like artists sculpting a masterpiece, chatting softly and making her feel like she belonged. Finally, Samira brought forward a selection of outfits. "I want you to choose," she said. "What image do you want to project to the world, Liana? Soft and graceful? Strong and untouchable? Elegant and mysterious?" Liana froze. No one had ever asked her what she wanted to be. Slowly, she lifted her gaze. "I want to look strong." Samira smiled proudly. "Then strong you shall be." She selected a fitted deep emerald suit, tailored to perfection, paired with subtle gold jewelry and sleek heels. Zinhla styled Liana's hair into soft waves that framed her face, while Kira added a warm, radiant glow to her skin. When they finished, Samira guided her to the full-length mirror. "Take a look." Liana stepped closer. The woman staring back at her took her breath away. Confident, regal, powerful. Someone who demanded respect simply by existing. Someone her former husband would never recognize. Someone she herself didn't fully recognize but wanted to become. Her eyes stung with emotion. Is that me? That is who you've always been, Samira said gently. We only helped you see it. A soft knock interrupted the moment. Naledi entered, carrying a small velvet box. My child, she said softly. There is something your mother wanted you to have once you embraced your strength. She opened the box, revealing a beautiful gold necklace inlaid with a polished green stone. This was her most treasured piece. She wore it during her proudest moments. Liana's throat tightened. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Naledi clasped the necklace around her neck. Just live the life she knew you were destined for. Themba approached. When you're ready, Miss Maseko, I would like to take you to the main office of your mother's corporation. The board is expecting you this afternoon. Liana stiffened. The board? Yes. They do not yet know who you are. Only that the rightful heir is arriving today. Will they accept me? She asked quietly. They will have no choice, Themba replied calmly. You hold controlling shares, but acceptance is another matter. You must earn their respect. Samira adjusted the collar of Liana's suit. You've already begun. The drive to the corporate headquarters was filled with quiet tension. The security convoy followed closely, ensuring Liana's safety at every turn. High-rise buildings towered ahead as they approached the financial district, a place Liana had always felt too small to ever belong. Now, she was about to walk inside as the owner. When the car stopped, Themba stepped out first, offering his hand to help her. You're ready, he said simply. No, Liana whispered, voice shaking slightly. But I will be. Inside the towering building, employees moved briskly, carrying documents and speaking into headsets. Some froze when they saw Liana, her polished appearance, her poised posture, the aura of quiet authority surrounding her. Whispers spread through the hallway like wildfire. Who is she? She looks important. Is that the new investor? No. I heard someone is taking over the entire company. Themba guided her into a large conference room where board members sat around a polished table. Some looked curious, others confused, and a few seemed annoyed at being summoned unexpectedly. Ladies and gentlemen, Themba began, allow me to present Miss Liana Nomvula Maseko, the sole heir to the entire Maseko estate and majority shareholder of this corporation. A ripple of shock spread across the room. One man scoffed. This young woman is the heir? Impossible. Nomvula's daughter died years ago. Liana lifted her chin. I assure you I am very much alive. A woman leaned forward. But you're so young, unprepared. Why would Nomvula leave all this to you? Liana's hands trembled slightly under the table, but her voice remained steady. Because she believed I could lead. Do you have any business experience? Another man demanded. No, Liana answered honestly. But I know how to learn. And I know hardship better than any of you in this room. The room went silent. Something about her tone, quiet, unflinching, edged with fire, commanded attention. One of the older board members cleared his throat. If she carries Nomvula's blood, then we owe her respect. But she must prove her ability. Liana nodded. I intend to. As the meeting progressed, she asked thoughtful questions, listened intently, and surprised the board with her clarity. Her confidence grew. Her voice steadied. She began to see the company not as a burden but as a legacy she was meant to uphold. Her mother's legacy. When she returned to the estate later that day, the sun was setting, casting warm orange light across the horizon. She stepped out of the car, heels clicking against the stone path, her shoulders squared with renewed purpose. Amaya ran out to greet her. How did it go? Liana smiled, an expression of quiet victory. Better than I expected. Naledi watched proudly from the doorway. You look like your mother today. Mezit. Liana touched the necklace gently. I feel like her. As she walked deeper into the estate, a realization washed over her. She was no longer the broken woman who had been thrown out of her husband's house. She was rising, transforming, becoming, and the world would soon see exactly who they had underestimated. Dumile woke to the sound of buzzing notifications vibrating across his mattress, but for once, It wasn't from Liana asking if he needed breakfast or reminding him about an unpaid bill. The room around him was messy clothes on the floor, empty bottles near the nightstand, curtains half hanging from where his new girlfriend had ripped them during a late-night argument. The sunlight that filtered into the room felt harsh, unforgiving, exposing everything he had been trying to ignore since throwing Liana out. He rubbed his eyes, groaning. His head pounded too much cheap alcohol, too little sleep, and a sense of emptiness that seemed to grow bigger each day. He reached for his phone. The first message nearly made him choke. "We're done. I'm not staying with a man who can't even pay his own rent." The message was from Cindy, the better woman he had boasted about when he humiliated Liana. The woman he thought would bring him the life he deserved. The woman he believed was proof that he was upgrading. Now she was gone. He scrolled through the rest. More messages. One from his landlord demanding payment, another from his employer notifying him that his hours had been reduced, and a final one reminding him of his unpaid loan money he had borrowed to impress Cindy with fancy dinners and fake status. He cursed under his breath. Why is everything falling apart now? But deep inside, he already knew the answer. Karma never misses a turn. His stomach growled loudly, reminding him he hadn't eaten since yesterday's sugarless cup of tea. He stood, pulled on wrinkled pants, and went to the kitchen. Empty. The fridge contained nothing but a jar of stale pickles and a half-empty bottle of water. "Damn it," he muttered. He slammed the fridge shut and leaned against the counter, sinking into a mix of frustration and something else, something he refused to acknowledge. Regret. He tried calling Cindy. No answer. He called again. Nothing. The third attempt led straight to voicemail. "Wow," he whispered bitterly. "She didn't even wait a full day." He threw the phone onto the couch and grabbed his jacket. If he didn't leave the house, he felt like the walls would collapse in on him. Outside, the neighborhood felt different without Liana's calm presence. She had always been the quiet stability in their life, the glue. And he had ripped her out without a second thought. He tried to shake off the uncomfortable feeling bubbling in his chest. As he walked toward the bus stop, he overheard two ladies chatting loudly near a small fruit stall. "You saw the pictures online? That woman was glowing. Even the mayor was there." "Yes, and the dress pure elegance. They say she's some big-shot heiress now." "Who?" "A woman named, what was it? Liana Maseko." The fruit slipped from Dumile's hands. His heart stopped. He stepped closer, voice cracking. I'm sorry. Did you say Liana?" The women eyed him skeptically. "Yes. Everyone's talking about her debut at that charity event last night. She looked like royalty." He staggered back. "Debut? Event?" One woman pulled out her phone. "Look, someone posted these." She showed him photos. There she was, Liana, draped in an emerald gown that shimmered like the northern lights, skin glowing, hair styled elegantly, standing beside city leaders, business moguls, and international guests. Confidence radiated from her like a flame. She didn't look like the battered woman he threw out with one torn bag. She didn't look broken. She looked powerful, untouchable, transformed. Dumile's throat tightened. No, that can't be her." "Oh, it's her," the woman replied. "They're saying she's the heir to some massive estate worth millions. She owns businesses, properties, everything." He felt the ground tilt beneath him. "Millions? She's richer than most people in this whole district combined," the woman added casually. "I heard she inherited a fortune from her mother." Dumile stumbled back, gripping his chest as if his heart were tearing open. The shock was too much. His legs felt unsteady, his breath uneven. He fled the scene, gasping for air. How had the woman he mocked, insulted, discarded, become wealthy overnight? Back at his room, he paced in circles until sweat dampened his shirt. "This has to be a joke," he muttered. "Some kind of misunderstanding." He Googled her name. The results confirmed every word the women said. Articles, photos, videos, headlines. "The hidden heiress emerges. Liana Maseko inherits massive empire." Stunning new millionaire appears at charity gala. Daughter of late tycoon steps into the spotlight. His phone nearly slipped from his hand. No, 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 he whispered. He threw himself onto the bed, pressing the heels of his palms into his eyes. For the first time since their marriage began, he truly saw her, saw everything he had thrown away. The meals she cooked, the sacrifices she made, the love she gave, the loyalty she offered. He saw it all, and he saw himself too. Cruel, greedy, ungrateful, blind. He curled into himself, groaning. What did I do? What have I done? Regret swallowed him whole. All at once, he reached for his old phone. He hadn't yet deleted her contact when he kicked her out. He dialed her number. This time, it didn't ring. The line played an automated message. This number is no longer in service. He felt like the message stabbed him in the chest. He messaged her on social media. No reply. He tried again. Blocked. Everything he once controlled slipped away. He had no wife, no girlfriend, no job stability, no money, and now, no access to the woman who suddenly stood on top of the world. He threw the phone against the wall. I need to see her, he panted. I need to explain. I need her to forgive me. But deep inside, he knew. He didn't deserve forgiveness. Yet desperation took over. He imagined her surrounded by wealth, beauty, respect, everything he thought he could only get from someone else. He needed her now. He needed her more than ever. And selfishly, foolishly, he thought maybe, just maybe, he could still get her back. He stormed out of the house again, determined to find the address of the estate mentioned in the articles. He didn't care about humiliation or pride. He would beg if he had to. But as he walked, a dark sedan slowed beside him, different from the black SUV Liana had, but equally ominous. The window rolled down halfway. A voice spoke coldly. You owe us money. Dumile froze. It was one of his loan sharks, Django. You've been dodging us, Django hissed. And now, we hear your ex-wife is rich, convenient. Dumile's blood went cold. What do you want? He asked shakily. We want what you owe, Django replied. And you're going to help us get it. Dumile swallowed hard as the car trailed him menacingly. His life was spiraling fast. He had lost Liana. He had angered dangerous men. And now, every wrong choice he ever made was closing in around him like a tightening noose. He looked up at the sky, feeling the weight of his mistakes crushing him. If only I could undo it, he whispered. But the world offered no second chances to men like him, not without a heavy price. The morning after the gala, the world buzzed with Liana's name like a sudden storm sweeping across the continent. News outlets replayed her entrance in a loop, her emerald gown glowing under the chandeliers, her calm, regal confidence captivating everyone in the room. Social media erupted with admiration, speculation, and awe. They called her the rising heiress, the hidden diamond, the woman who came out of the ashes. But inside the estate, Liana remained unaware of just how far-reaching her sudden fame had become. She ate breakfast quietly with Amaya and Naledi, still adjusting to her new identity. Themba briefed her on upcoming meetings and decisions that needed her approval, while the staff moved with careful respect around her. She had stepped into her mother's world, but she had yet to understand the weight of it. Meanwhile, miles away in the city, Dumile stared at his cracked phone screen in disbelief for the 100th time. The photo of Liana, his Liana standing on a red carpet beside influential figures, burned into his mind like a wound. He paced frantically inside his tiny room, the walls suffocating him. The air felt heavy and stale. His heart pounded as though it wanted to burst from his chest. She can't be rich, he muttered to himself. She can't be living that life. She was nothing when she left, but the truth screamed back at him through every headline, every interview, every glamorous image. He had abandoned a woman worth $50 million, not just wealthy but powerful, connected, admired. How is this possible? He whispered, sinking onto the edge of his bed. The guilt came first, sharp and cold. Then came jealousy, bitter enough to choke him. And beneath it all, a desperate, clawing need to fix what he had done. He wanted to run back to her, fall to his knees, beg her to take him back, tell her he was wrong, that he loved her, that he had always loved her, even though deep inside he knew he never had. He had only loved the comfort she provided. Now desperation made him rewrite the past in his mind. Suddenly, his phone rang, vibrating violently across the bedspread. He jumped, grabbed it, and felt dread curl in his stomach when he saw the caller ID. Django, his loan shark. He hesitated before picking up. Hello? The voice on the other side was icy. You owe me money, Dumile. I know, Django. I'm trying to get it. Trying is not good enough. Your time is up. Panic clawed at him. Just give me a little longer. There was a pause, a dangerous one. Then Django spoke slowly. I hear your ex-wife is rich now. Very rich. Perhaps she would be willing to help you. Cold sweat ran down Dumile's spine. No, she won't. Then you will make her, Django replied sharply. Or, I will make you pay in ways you won't survive. Do you understand? The line went dead. Dumile collapsed onto the bed, his hands shaking uncontrollably. The room seemed to close in, shrinking around him. Everything was falling apart. Everything he had tried to control was slipping away. He needed to find Liana not for love, not for regret, but to save himself. But he didn't know where she lived. He didn't know anything about her new world. Then his eyes fell on a magazine left behind by Cindy. On the cover was a photograph of the estate's sprawling gardens, towering fences, and an iron gate, and an address. Hope and dread twisted inside him. He grabbed his jacket and bolted out the door. The security team at the estate had already increased patrols since Liana's public appearance. With fame came danger, Themba had warned her, and her mother's instructions made it clear that safety was a priority. That morning, as she walked through the garden with Naledi, a guard approached. Miss Maseko, he said discreetly. There is a man at the gate asking to see you. A man? Liana asked, puzzled. Yes, he says he knows you personally. Naledi frowned. Who would come all the way out here without notice? Did he give his name? Liana asked. The guard hesitated. He said, Dumile. The world froze. Naledi's breath caught sharply. Amaya, who had been trailing behind, spun toward the guard with disbelief. What? That monster is here? Liana's heart thudded painfully. 1,000 memories crashed into her at once. Insults, humiliation, tears she had swallowed, nights she spent wondering why she wasn't enough. He says he needs to speak with you urgently, the guard added. No. Amaya's voice was sharp. He needs money. That's what this is. He threw her out. But Liana lifted a hand to silence her friend. Where is he now? She asked quietly. At the gate, ma'am, the guard replied. We have not let him in. Liana exhaled slowly. Her fingers trembled slightly, though she tried to hide it. Bring him to the outer courtyard, she said. I will speak to him there, alone. Absolutely not, Amaya protested. This is how dangerous things begin. Naledi stepped forward, her voice firm but gentle. Child, you do not owe that man anything, especially your presence. Liana turned to them both, her voice steady. This is not about him. This is about me. I need closure. Reluctantly, they stepped aside. The outer courtyard was spacious but guarded. Security agents positioned themselves discreetly at a distance as Liana approached the open area, her emerald suit flowing around her like armor. Dumile stood at the far end, looking small, disheveled, and shockingly fragile. His clothes were wrinkled, his hair messy, his eyes sunken with grief and sleeplessness. The moment he saw her, his knees nearly gave out. Liana, he whispered, his voice cracking. She stopped several feet away from him, her posture tall and composed. He dropped to his knees instantly, collapsing in despair. Please, listen to me, he begged, his palms pressed together. I made a mistake, a terrible mistake. Liana's expression remained unreadable. What do you want, Dumile? I was wrong, about everything, he stammered. You were the good one. You were the loyal one. I didn't know. That I had money? She finished for him. He swallowed hard. No, I didn't know your value. She laughed softly, not kindly. You didn't know my value because you never cared to look. He flinched. I am not the woman you threw away, she said, her voice strong. I am not the woman you humiliated, the woman you abandoned in the street with nothing. Tears welled in his eyes. I'm begging you, give me another chance. I'll change, I swear it. Liana stepped closer, her eyes burning. Why now? She asked. Why come crawling back? He couldn't speak. She tilted her head. Is it because you miss me? Or because you heard I am rich? He lowered his gaze in shame. She already knew the answer. Stand up, she said quietly. He rose slowly, trembling like a child in trouble. She looked him in the eye. I forgive you, she said. His breath caught in hope. But forgiveness is not an invitation, she continued, her tone like steel. I am done being your second thought. I am done being your punching bag. I am done being your convenience. His eyes widened with panic. Please, please don't leave me like this. You left me first, she replied. And you didn't look back. He reached out to grab her hand, but a guard stepped in instantly, blocking him. Liana stepped away. I wish you healing, she said softly, but I will not be part of your story anymore. She turned and walked away, every step firm. Graceful, final, Dumile collapsed to the ground behind her, his sobs echoing through the courtyard. She didn't look back. She didn't need to. She was walking into a life he could never touch again. The estate grew quiet again after the guards escorted Dumile away. But inside Liana's chest, echoes of the confrontation lingered like a storm refusing to fully pass. She walked slowly back toward the mansion, her heels clicking sharply against the stone pathway. Every step felt heavy, not with regret, but with the weight of a chapter finally closed. Amaya hurried to her side the moment she entered the hallway. What happened? Did he hurt you? Did he try anything? She demanded, scanning Liana from head to toe. He didn't touch me, Liana replied softly. Naledi appeared moments later, her old eyes filled with concern. Child, are you all right? Liana didn't answer immediately. Her mind replayed Dumile, kneeling, his desperate, shaking voice begging for forgiveness. Years ago, she might have fallen to her knees with him, both drowning in misery. Years ago, she might have believed he would change, but today, she had seen him clearly for who he truly was. I'm fine, she finally whispered. Better than I thought I'd be. Amaya wrapped an arm around her shoulders. Good, because that man has no place in your new life. He has no place in any life of mine, Liana agreed. Themba appeared at the top of the stairs, carrying his usual tablet. But when he saw Liana's expression, he paused. Your meeting with the financial advisory team is in 30 minutes, he said gently. But we can reschedule if it's too soon. Liana straightened her posture. No, I'm ready. Let's continue. As she walked up the stairs with Themba, she felt her mother's necklace resting warm against her chest like a silent reminder of the strength she carried within her. The boardroom in the estate's business annex buzzed with activity when Liana entered. Large screens displayed charts and projections, while experts from various departments shuffled documents, preparing for her arrival. The room fell silent when she stepped in. Her new image, elegant, confident, unafraid, was enough to command attention. Good morning, Miss Masako, said Miss Luthuli, the chief financial officer, rising respectfully. Good morning, Liana replied. She took her seat at the head of the table, the position her mother once occupied. The meeting began with introductions. Legal advisors, portfolio managers, PR strategists, risk assessors, and trusted family business partners. Each spoke with a mix of reverence and curiosity, studying Liana to see if she had inherited more than just wealth, if she had inherited leadership. Miss Luthuli opened the presentation. As you know, your mother left behind multiple assets. Today we will review your primary financial empire. Liana nodded. Charts appeared on screen, showing the sprawling extent of the Masako empire. Mineral investments, eco-friendly tech companies, agricultural programs, educational charities, and international trade partnerships. Millions flowed through these channels each year. But as each department explained their role, Liana noticed something vital. No one had ever expected her mother to pass leadership to a daughter hidden from the public eye. They had assumed a corporate veteran or a distant relative would take the reins. Her sudden arrival had disrupted everything. But instead of feeling intimidated, Liana felt a spark, an instinct she didn't know she possessed. Questions formed naturally in her mind, sharp and insightful. Why are our agricultural programs restricted to only 3 provinces? Why is the ecotech branch showing stagnation? Is it due to poor marketing or internal inefficiencies? If we shift investments from high-risk ventures to sustainable ones, how long until we see impact? Are our scholarships reaching rural areas, or only urban students? The board exchanged surprised glances. Liana didn't sound like a woman new to business. She sounded like someone ready to lead. Themba watched quietly, pride softening his usually calm expression. By the end of the 3-hour meeting, Miss Luthuli smiled warmly. Your mother would be proud. You have her eyes, her voice, her fire. Liana felt heat rise in her chest. Thank you. I will do my best to honor her. That's were more, and she meant every word. Later that afternoon, after the meeting wrapped, Liana stepped outside for fresh air. She wandered toward the far end of the garden, where tall jacaranda trees created a canopy of purple blossoms. The wind carried a gentle floral scent as petals drifted lazily around her feet. She didn't hear footsteps behind her until a deep voice spoke. Miss Maseko. She turned to see a man dressed in a black tactical suit, sharp, alert, the same aura that surrounded every member of her security detail. He was tall, with a calm but unyielding presence. You're one of the men from the SUV, Liana said. Yes, he replied with a respectful nod. My name is Kago. I lead your protection unit. Liana studied him silently. You were watching me even before I knew anything, before I got the inheritance. Yes, Kago confirmed. Your mother hired us to keep you safe from the shadows. She was a cautious woman. She knew that when the truth came out, danger would follow. Liana's brow furrowed. What kind of danger? Kago's gaze hardened slightly. Greed, jealousy, people who want what doesn't belong to them. The image of Dumile kneeling flashed briefly in Liana's mind. Do you think he will return? She asked. Kago paused before answering. Men like him don't give up easily when they see what they've lost. But he is not your only concern. What do you mean? Liana whispered. Kago hesitated, but only briefly. We have been monitoring communication between several individuals in the city. There are groups discussing ways to exploit your sudden public presence. Some see you as an opportunity, others as a target. A small chill crawled across her skin. Is that why you watched me even before I came here? Yes, Kago said. Your mother predicted this. Liana looked down at her necklace. She prepared for everything, except being here to guide me. Kago's expression softened just a fraction. She prepared us to guide you. She nodded slowly. Thank you. I'm grateful. He bowed his head slightly and stepped back, giving her space. Liana turned her gaze toward the horizon. For years, the world had treated her as if she were invisible. Now, she felt the world watching her too closely. But instead of fear, she felt something else rising inside her. Resolve, determination, purpose. Her mother had left her not just wealth, but responsibility, legacy, power that she was determined to wield wisely. She whispered into the breeze, I won't let you down, Mama. But as she stood there, in the golden light of sunset, she didn't notice the tall figure watching her from beyond the estate fence, a thin shadow beneath a tree. Dumile. His clothes were covered in dust. His eyes were red, his face sunken with desperation. He gripped the metal bars tightly, watching her silhouette with a mix of longing, rage, and disbelief. That was supposed to be my life. Mine, he muttered bitterly. He stepped back from the fence, trembling, torn between the remnants of guilt and the crushing weight of jealousy. Behind him, the sound of a car engine approached. A familiar voice spoke coldly. Is she protected? Dumile turned. Django stepped out of the passenger seat, 2 men flanking him. Their eyes were sharp, predatory. Yes, Dumile whispered. She's heavily guarded. Django's smile was thin. Good. That means she has something valuable. Dumile felt dread pour into him like cold water. Wait, what are you planning? Leave her alone. Django grabbed him by the collar. You owe us, and your debt just found a golden solution. No, no, Dumile shook his head violently. You can't touch her. But Django's grip tightened. Oh, we can, he hissed, and you're going to help us. Dumile froze. His worst mistake was about to breed something far darker. And Liana, unaware of the storm gathering beyond her gates, turned back toward the mansion, ready to rise into her future, not yet knowing danger was following her like a shadow. The morning sun glistened across the estate like a thin sheet of gold, as Liana walked toward the private wing that once belonged to her mother. Themba had instructed the staff not to disturb her for the next few hours. Today was the day she would finally explore the final collection of documents, journals, and recordings her mother had left behind. Naledi met her at the door, her hands clasped tightly, eyes soft with a mixture of pride and sorrow. Your mother spent countless nights in this study, Naledi said softly. She always said that one day you would sit where she sat, learn what she learned, and become everything she couldn't. Liana swallowed hard. I want to understand her. Not just the wealth she left me, but the woman she truly was. Naledi nodded and slowly opened the door. A rush of warm, nostalgic air filled the hallway. The room was breathtaking, lined with tall bookshelves containing ledgers, binders, memoirs, maps, and business manuals. Photographs of her mother at different ages hung on the wall. A young Namvula smiling with a baby in her arms, Liana. Another of her mother signing documents with powerful business leaders. Another of her standing in front of a newly built school she had funded. At the far end of the room, beneath a large window overlooking the gardens, stood a mahogany desk. Neat stacks of documents covered the surface alongside a small velvet pouch, a sealed envelope, and an old recording device. This was her private archive, Naledi said gently. She asked that it be given to you when the time was right. Liana felt her breath catch. Thank you, Naledi. I'll call if I need you. Naledi bowed her head slightly and left, closing the door behind her. Silence settled around Liana, deep, intimate, full of memories. She stepped toward the desk, running her fingers across the polished wood. A faint scent of lavender still lingered, her mother's favorite. She pulled out the chair and sat slowly, feeling as though her mother's presence was wrapped around her like a blanket. The first thing she opened was a leather-bound journal. Her mother's handwriting curled across the pages, strong, elegant. My Liana, if fate allows, I hope you grow in strength and grace. Life may steal from you, break you, or silence you. But rise, my child. Rise above cruelty. Rise above fear. You carry the blood of women who fought storms and built empires from dust. Tears blurred the ink on the page as Liana continued reading. Your father loved you, but his family despised me for leaving the wealth I was born into. They wanted him to abandon us. When he refused, they made his life hell. We chose poverty to preserve our freedom. And you, when he died, I feared they would come for you too. So I lived quietly, hidden. Every coin I earned, every business I built, I created it in secrecy. With your future in mind, forgive me for the life of hardship you had to endure. I needed you to grow unbreakable. The words entered her heart like a blade, sharp, painful, yet filled with love. She pressed a hand over her mouth, letting silent tears fall. She remembered her mother struggling to pay school fees, working late into the night washing clothes for the neighborhood. She remembered the worn-out shoes, the empty fridges, the nights her mother pretended she wasn't hungry so Liana could eat. Now she understood. Her mother had not been poor. She had sacrificed everything to protect her. When Liana closed the journal, she noticed a small wooden box labeled with her name. Inside were documents detailing her mother's hidden business journey. Her network, her early investors, letters from mentors, drafts of her first entrepreneurial ideas, even sketches of the estate that now belonged to Liana. The deeper she looked, the more she realized how brilliant, strategic, and resilient her mother had been. Namvula hadn't just built wealth, she built power, quietly, patiently, until the day she died. Then Liana noticed the sealed envelope. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. Inside was a letter, addressed to her more recent than the journal entries. My beloved daughter, I don't know what life will look like for you when you read this. But if this letter has reached your hands, then you have faced something I feared for years. Betrayal or abandonment. Liana felt her heart stop. If someone cast you aside, let it mark the beginning, not the end. You are not defined by who leaves you. You are defined by what you become after they leave. Her breath trembled. Forgive, but never return to the place that broke you. Build a world where your worth is never questioned again. Liana closed the letter slowly, pressing it to her chest. She whispered into the quiet air, I will make you proud, Mama. When she emerged from the study hours later, proud tears still shining in her eyes, she found Themba waiting in the hallway. Everything all right, Miss Maseko? He asked. Yes, she said with quiet strength. Better than all right. Themba studied her face. You look taller today. I understand her now, Liana replied. I understand why she made the choices she made. Themba nodded. Your mother was a visionary. You carry her same fire. Liana smiled faintly. I intend to use it. Then we have work to do, he said. Shall I prepare the briefing for the expansion project? Yes, she replied. Let's begin. But before Themba could turn, one of the security officers jogged up to them. Miss Maseko, he said urgently. Something happened at the main gate. Liana stiffened. What is it? The officer exchanged a quick glance with Themba. Someone left a note addressed to you. No signature. No name. Themba's voice darkened. Where is it? The guard handed him a small envelope. Themba opened it and read silently. His expression hardened instantly. What does it say? Liana whispered. Themba hesitated before speaking. It says, your wealth should be shared. Don't make us come inside. Liana's blood turned cold. Amaya, who had been walking toward them, froze when she saw the tension. Is something wrong? Themba folded the note. It might be nothing, but we will increase security immediately. Who could have sent it? Liana asked. We're investigating, Themba replied. But Liana could feel it. The note wasn't random. It was a threat. Someone wanted what belonged to her. Someone watching from the shadows. Someone willing to do anything to get it. A memory flashed Dumile's pale face when he begged her earlier. His panicked eyes, his trembling voice. Could he be involved? She felt a wave of dread. Miss Maseko, Themba said gently. Please stay inside the main building today. Trust us to handle this. Liana nodded slowly, though fear crept into her chest like cold smoke. Something dark was coming, something her mother had foreseen. As Liana walked back to the living room, she felt the weight of her mother's legacy settle firmly on her shoulders, but so did the danger that accompanied it. She whispered under her breath, whatever comes, I will face it. But far beyond the gates, hidden behind a cluster of trees, Dumile stood with shaking hands as Django's men loaded weapons into the trunk of their car. Django smirked at him. Tonight, we get what we came for. Dumile's stomach churned with terror. He had destroyed his marriage. He had lost his dignity, and now, his final mistake was about to threaten the only woman who had ever truly loved him. Please, he whispered, voice cracking. Don't hurt her. Django's eyes flashed with cold amusement. Oh, we won't hurt her if she gives us what we want. As the sun dipped beneath the horizon, Liana stood on the balcony, unaware of the shadows gathering outside her gates, shadows that threatened everything her mother had built and everything she had just begun. Nightfall draped itself softly over the estate, the sky turning deep shades of violet and indigo as distant stars began to pierce through the fading light. Inside the mansion, warm lamps glowed in the hallways, the air peaceful and still, yet beneath that calm, a quiet tension simmered. Liana could feel it, like invisible pressure settling over her shoulders. The anonymous threat from earlier refused to leave her mind. She sat in the library with Amaya, trying to read, but each turn of the page made her more restless. Her fingers tapped against the armrest, her breath unsteady. Finally, Amaya closed her own book with a loud sigh. "Okay, talk," Amaya said sternly. "You've read the same page for 30 minutes. What's wrong?" Liana lowered the book. "I'm thinking about the note." "Themba and the guards are handling it," Amaya insisted. "This place is safer than a fortress." Liana forced a smile. "I know. But threats aren't always about getting in. Sometimes they're about fear, pressure, manipulation." Amaya frowned. "You think someone is targeting you specifically?" "Yes," Liana whispered. "Not the estate. Me." Before Amaya could respond, a soft knock echoed at the door. "Come in," Liana said. Kago stepped inside, his expression grave. "Miss Maseko, there's something you need to hear." Amaya rose. "Another threat?" Kago shook his head. "Not exactly, but we intercepted communications from a group in the city. They've been discussing your inheritance, your estate, and ways to pressure you into giving money." Liana's stomach tightened. "Who are they?" "We don't have full identities yet," Kago replied. "But they're dangerous, organized, and someone is feeding them information." "Someone close," Amaya whispered. "Possibly," Kago said. "Or someone who knows your past." A cold wave washed over Liana. "Dumile." Kago didn't confirm it, but his silence was answer enough. "Has he contacted them?" she asked softly. "We believe so," Kago answered. "He is desperate. Desperate people are unpredictable." Liana pressed a hand against her forehead. "What do they want?" "Money," Kago replied. "A lot of it." "Was. And if I don't give it?" Kago's voice darkened. "They said they would escalate. That's why we must stay vigilant." Amaya placed a reassuring hand on Liana's shoulder. "They won't get close to you. Not with your entire security team here." But Liana shook her head. "This isn't just about safety. It's about responsibility. If people are coming after me, I need to understand why and protect not only myself but everyone who works here." Kago nodded approvingly. "That is wise. But you must allow us to lead the defense." "I will," Liana said. "Just keep me informed." Kago bowed slightly and left. Later that night, Liana sat alone on the balcony. The cool air kissed her cheeks as she stared at the moonlit gardens stretching beneath her. She remembered her mother's words. "Rise, my child. Rise above cruelty. Rise above fear." She wanted to honor that, but fear had sharp claws, and tonight, it dragged through her heart. She didn't notice Themba approach until he softly cleared his throat. "May I join you?" he asked. "Of course," she replied. He walked to the railing beside her. "You've had a long day." "That's an understatement." "Your mother faced similar threats," Themba said gently. "Many wanted to exploit her kindness. But she always believed in preparing for the worst, while hoping for the best." Liana inhaled deeply. "I'm learning that every blessing has a shadow, and every shadow can be faced," Themba said. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Liana asked quietly, "Themba, do you think I'm capable of managing all this? The business, the estate, the threats?" Themba's voice was firm. "Yes, you are your mother's daughter, not just by blood but by spirit." She blinked back tears. "I hope you're right." "I am," he said simply, "but far beyond the gates." The shadows stirred. In a cramped warehouse on the outskirts of the city, Django paced in circles around Dumile. The dim lights flickered above them, casting eerie shadows on the concrete walls. Dumile sat slumped on a wooden crate, hands shaking. "You said she had money," Django snarled. "She does," Dumile whispered. "I saw the news. I saw her estate. I saw—" "But she didn't give you any," Django interrupted, his voice turning venomous. Dumile flinched. She won't talk to me." "Then you will find another way," Django hissed. "I don't want to hurt her," Dumile protested. I regret what I did. You want survival," Django cut in sharply. "And so do I. The difference is, I plan to get it." He stepped close to Dumile, his breath chilling. "We will get inside that estate, and you will help us." "No," Dumile whispered. "She's protected. You can't break in." When Menaken, Django smiled a slow, sinister smile. "Everything can be broken, even fortresses. But if you hurt her..." "Who said anything about hurting?" Django smirked. "We only need her to fear us. Fear makes people generous." Dumile's heart pounded. He felt trapped, caught between the guilt of hurting the woman he abandoned and the threat of the men who now controlled his fate. "I want no blood," Dumile whispered. "That depends on her," Django replied. Then he turned to his men. "Prepare everything. Tonight, we test her security." Dumile's blood froze. Back at the estate, hours passed quietly, but the silence felt too thick, too fragile. Liana had just finished reviewing documents in her study when the lights suddenly flickered. She frowned. Strange. The estate never loses power. A moment later, a security alarm buzzed briefly before going silent again. Liana froze. That wasn't normal. She hurried downstairs and found Kago in the hallway, speaking urgently into his comms device. "Kago?" she asked. He turned sharply. "Miss Maseko, please return to your room." "What's happening?" "A perimeter breach," he replied tightly. "We're tracking movement outside the east wall." "Movement? What kind of movement?" "We don't know yet," Kago said. "But it is deliberate." Fear rose in her chest. "Is it them? The people from the note?" Kago didn't answer, which told her everything. The mansion's intercom crackled. Themba's voice echoed through the halls. "All personnel, report positions. Secure points A, B, and D. Miss Maseko, please remain in a safe room." Safe room. Liana had hoped she'd never need to use it. A guard approached. "Ma'am, come with me." "No," she said instantly. "I want to see the cameras." "It's not safe. It's my estate," she said firmly. "My mother's legacy. I won't hide without knowing what's happening." The guard hesitated, then motioned for her to follow. They rushed to the security control room, where 6 guards monitored screens showing the entire perimeter. On one of the cameras, dark silhouettes moved along the fence, 3, 4, maybe 5 shadows. One guard zoomed in. Men dressed in black, carrying tools, cutting devices, trying to breach the estate's strongest wall. Liana's breath caught. Themba entered the room, calm but tense. "We've alerted the police, but they are minutes away." "Who are they?" Liana whispered. "Opportunists," Themba said. "Or parasites. Or both." Kago's voice sounded from outside the room. "Team 1, intercept now." Guards moved swiftly across the screens, professional, coordinated, ready. Still, the intruders persisted. Then, on one of the cameras, Liana saw something that made her stomach twist violently. A 6th figure, standing further back, watching her home, watching the chaos. She zoomed the camera. Her heart dropped. It was Dumile, broken, desperate, horrified. He wasn't helping the attackers. He was trying to stop them. He grabbed one of Django's men, shoving him back, yelling something. The man punched him in the face. Dumile fell hard. "Is that?" Amaya whispered, appearing in the doorway, breathless. "Yes," Liana said hollowly. "It's him." Themba's jaw tightened. "We will handle it." But before any guard could reach them, Django stepped into view, mask on, eyes cold, holding something in his hand. "A weapon?" "No," Liana whispered. And as the intruders advanced, the estate lights flickered once more. The storm had officially begun. The estate lights blinked twice like the final warning of a heartbeat before it flatlined, then steadied again. But inside the security control room, the atmosphere had shifted from tension to full-blown alarm. A weight settled over everyone like thick smoke, and the urgency in Kago's voice sharpened into something that made even the veteran guards stiffen. "Team 3, move to the east wall now. Team 2, flank from the southern garden. Lock down all interior corridors." The security staff sprang into coordinated motion, but Liana's eyes remained glued to the camera feed, specifically on the figure standing far behind the intruders. Dumile, her former husband, bruised, bleeding, helpless, and terrified. He was shouting something desperately, frantically, but the footage had no audio. One of the intruders struck him again, sending him to his knees. Liana felt the breath leave her lungs. He tried to stop them, she whispered. Themba stepped beside her. It doesn't matter. He brought them here, but he didn't want. He led them to you, Themba said firmly. He opened the door, even if he didn't mean to. Amaya hovered anxiously at the entrance. Liana, don't start feeling sorry for him. This is not the time. But empathy was both a blessing and a curse in Liana's chest. She couldn't turn it off, not even for the man who had once broken her. Another camera feed flashed. The intruders, 5 of them, were working fast. 2 cut through the metal mesh of the perimeter fencing, sparks flying like angry fireflies. Another placed a device against the stone column, likely an improvised charge. They weren't just testing the estate's defenses. They were ready to break through them. Kago entered the room abruptly, speaking into his earpiece as he walked. Team 1, take position 70 meters out, non-lethal until further notice. He glanced at Liana, reading the fear behind her calm posture. We will not let them reach you, he said. Liana swallowed hard. What about Dumile? Kago's expression barely twitched. He made his choice. He's in danger, she insisted. And so are you. Before she could argue, a loud metallic boom echoed through the speakers. The control screen flickered. A shockwave of dust burst from the eastern wall. The explosion wasn't strong enough to breach the stone, but it cracked the surface. Themba muttered. They are escalating, faster than expected. Suddenly the feed switched. 2 guards were engaged with the intruders near the breach point. Flashlights pierced the shadows as security forces advanced. 3 intruders fought back viciously, swinging metal rods, throwing stones, using tools as weapons. One hurled a bottle that burst into flames. Molotov cocktail. The blaze temporarily blocked the guards' pursuit. Django, the leader, moved with chilling purpose, barking orders. He pointed toward the shattered fence and stepped forward, then froze, because a figure stumbled between him and the breach. Dumile. He put himself directly in Django's path. On the camera, they saw Dumile raise his hands in desperation, shouting something that looked like, "Stop! Leave her alone!" Django's response was swift, a brutal punch across Dumile's face. The man collapsed again, but he pushed himself up, shaking, nose bleeding. He lunged toward Django, grabbing his sleeve. Django backhanded him so hard Dumile hit the ground and didn't rise. Liana's hand flew to her mouth. Oh God. She looked at Themba, her voice trembling. We have to help him. Themba maintained his stoic demeanor. Our priority is you, but he'll die out there. Amaya shook her head. Liana. He made this mess. You can't risk yourself for someone who betrayed you. I'm not risking myself, Liana whispered. But I won't watch someone die no matter who they are. Kago approached her slowly. We will retrieve him once the intruders are subdued. But, Miss Maseko, he interrupted firmly, if you leave this room, you endanger the entire operation. Stay inside. That is not a request. His tone was not unkind, but it left no room for negotiation. Suddenly, alarms blared across the monitors. Movement on the north side. Unauthorized presence near the utility corridor. Team 3, divert. Another intruder had circled around, trying to find another weak spot. Liana watched in horror as he attempted to slip through a side mesh gate, but Team 3 caught him. 2 guards pinned him down while a third confiscated his tools. For a fleeting second, relief washed through her. Until the main camera feed flashed again. The east wall breach. This time, Django stepped through the shattered section. He had made it inside. Themba cursed quietly. We need full lockdown now. Kago barked orders into his comms. Team 1, intercept breach leader non-lethal. Team 2, perimeter reinforcement. Then he turned toward Liana and Amaya. I must reposition. Stay hidden. He left without waiting for a response. Amaya paced like a caged lion. This is insane. How did they get this far? Liana's heartbeat hammered inside her skull. She gripped the nearest chair for support. Themba glanced at her. You need to stay calm. How can I? She whispered. They're here for me. Themba lowered his voice. That's why the house is on security lockdown mode. They won't reach you. But Liana wasn't reassured. The security monitors showed Team 1 converging on Django. He fought hard, fierce, wild, unstoppable. One guard took a blow to the ribs. Another hit the ground. A taser sparked, but only grazed Django's arm. He's trained, Themba murmured. He's dangerous, Amaya added. But Kago appeared suddenly on the scene, tackling Django with precision. They struggled violently. Dust and grit filled the air. Django landed a punch to Kago's jaw, but Kago retaliated with a powerful knee to the intruder's abdomen. Django staggered. A guard seized the opportunity and shackled his wrists with reinforced restraints. Suspect secured, a guard reported. Breathing deeply, Kago stood over the subdued intruder. For a moment, everything seemed to settle. Liana exhaled shakily. Thank God, but the calm shattered instantly. One of the cameras flickered. A figure bleeding, disoriented, barely standing wandered into view near the breach. Dumile. He was conscious again. Barely. He stumbled toward the estate interior, supporting himself against broken stones, searching for safety. Liana's heart clenched. They have to get him. He's still in danger. Themba nodded. They will retrieve him. A guard radioed in. We're approaching the injured civilian. But someone else approached him first. A man from Django's group who had not been subdued. The last intruder. Weapon in hand. No, Liana whispered, her voice cracking. She watched helplessly as the intruder raised something hard, metal, cylindrical, aimed directly at Dumile's skull. The guard sprinted from the shadows, but too far. The intruder swung the weapon. Dumile dropped to his knees. The entire control room gasped. But before the man could strike the final blow, Kago charged from behind, slamming the intruder into the ground with a force that rattled the camera. Two guards dragged the attacker away. Kicking and cursing, Kago knelt beside Dumile, checking his pulse, lifting him carefully from the dirt. He's alive, Kago said through the radio. Barely, but alive. Liana sank into a chair, relief and grief bursting through her like broken floodgates. Themba placed a hand on her shoulder. We'll take him to the infirmary. But Liana shook her head slowly, her voice trembling. No, take him to the hospital. Themba frowned. Miss Maseko, he needs help, she insisted, and I won't let him die. Her voice cracked once, but her resolve did not. Themba studied her face, then nodded. As you wish. As guards carried Dumile away, unconscious but breathing, Liana pressed her hand to her mother's necklace. You taught me compassion, she whispered. But now, I need strength. Outside, paramedics rushed in. Police sirens approached in the distance. The intruders were restrained. The breach was secured, but the night was far from over. This was only the beginning of the storm. Rain began to fall just as the ambulance doors slammed shut, droplets streaking down the polished metal like tears. The sirens wailed into the night as paramedics rushed Dumile away, leaving behind the broken fence, scattered debris, and the lingering smell of smoke. The estate grounds were a battlefield, guards tending to injuries, lights sweeping through the dark, the buzz of urgent radio chatter filling the air. Liana stood beneath the veranda, watching the ambulance disappear into the night. Her emerald suit was damp at the shoulders, her hair slightly frizzed by the moisture, but she didn't care. Her chest was tight with emotions she couldn't sort: fear, pity, shock, sadness, and something else she didn't want to name. Amaya placed a hand on her arm. He doesn't deserve your tears. What had repressed? Liana didn't turn. I'm not crying, but her throat ached in a way she recognized too well. Let's get you inside, Amaya urged. You need rest. Tonight was too much. Before Liana could respond, Kago approached, his jaw bruised, his uniform torn at the sleeve, but his posture still sharp and steady. Miss Maseko, he said with a respectful bow of his head, the police have taken the intruders into custody. The perimeter is secured. Some of my men are injured, but nothing life-threatening. Thank you, Liana said softly. Truly, All of you kept me safe. Kago shook his head. It is an honor to protect you. Themba joined them, his tablet in hand, but for once he wasn't here to discuss business. Miss Maseko, we need to debrief, he said gently, but it can wait until you've slept. You've been through an ordeal. Liana nodded weakly. Where is Naledi? In her room, Themba replied. She was shaken by the noise, but she is fine. Relief washed through Liana. Good. She turned toward the mansion, ready to retreat into the quiet, but Kago stepped closer. There is one more thing, he said. She looked at him, eyes weary. The man, Dumile, Kago continued. He regained consciousness briefly before being taken to the ambulance. Liana swallowed. What did he say? He asked for you, Kago answered. Then he apologized. Many times. Liana looked down at the puddles forming beneath her feet. I don't know what to do with that. You do nothing, Amaya said sharply. He made his choices, but Kago looked thoughtful. Forgiveness is not weakness, it is clarity. Liana sighed. Tonight proved that the past doesn't stay buried. It always finds a way to break through. Themba nodded. It means you must be strong enough to face it. Rain thickened, forcing them all deeper under the veranda. Liana finally spoke. I want updates on his condition. Themba hesitated. Why? Because no one deserves to die in fear, she whispered. Not even the person who hurt me the most. Her voice trembled, but her resolve was steady. Hours later, after showering and changing into warm clothes, she sat on the edge of her bed, unable to sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the moment the weapon swung toward Dumile's head. The sound, the way he fell, the blood, the panic. She pressed her palms to her eyes and exhaled shakily. A soft knock came at the door. It's me, Naledi said. Liana opened the door, and Naledi hugged her instantly. The older woman's embrace was warm, grounding, filled with the kind of love only someone who had loved her mother deeply could give. I heard everything, Naledi whispered. Are you hurt? No. Liana murmured, just shaken. Naledi cupped her cheeks. Your mother once told me that loving the wrong person can break a woman, but surviving them makes her unstoppable. Liana's breath trembled. I don't know if I'm unstoppable. You will be, Naledi said firmly. When Naledi left, Liana returned to her bed but still couldn't sleep. The storm outside calmed, but inside her, the storm raged on. Around 3 a.m., a phone on the bedside table rang softly. Not her personal phone, the secure estate line. Heart pounding, Liana answered. A male voice spoke. Miss Maseko, this is Dr. Mfahalel from the city hospital. Her grip tightened on the phone. How is he? He is stable, but in critical condition, the doctor said. A severe concussion, broken ribs, deep bruising. He needs monitoring for the next 48 hours. Liana closed her eyes. Can I visit? A brief silence. He asked for you, the doctor said, but only if you feel safe. I'll come in the morning, she whispered. When she hung up, the weight on her chest only grew heavier. Morning arrived sooner than she expected. A pale gray sky hung over the estate, and a soft mist coated the gardens. Kago and Themba were already waiting when she entered the main hall. You're leaving for the hospital? Themba asked. Yes, you understand the risk, Kago said, his tone not scolding, merely factual. I do, Liana replied. But this is something I need to do to close the last door to my past. Kago nodded. Then we will escort you. The hospital corridors smelled of disinfectant and quiet grief. Nurses moved briskly, and doctors murmured into clipboards. Liana's heels clicked softly against the floor as she followed Dr. Mifhalil toward a dimly lit room. This way, he said. Her pulse quickened. When the doctor opened the door, she stepped inside slowly. Dumile lay on the bed pale, bandaged, fragile. Machines beeped rhythmically beside him. His left arm was in a sling, his lips split, one eye swollen shut. He looked nothing like the self-assured man who had once belittled her. He looked broken, lost, painfully human. His eyes flickered open at the sound of her steps. Liana? His voice was weak, rough. She stepped closer, stopping just beside the bed. He tried to sit up, wincing in pain. "Please, don't go." She remained still. He swallowed, tears slipping down his bruised cheek. I didn't want them to hurt you. I tried to stop them." "I saw," she whispered. "I was wrong," he choked out. "I was so wrong. I treated you like nothing. I thought I deserved better. But you," he sobbed, clutching the bedsheet, "you were the best thing in my life. And I threw you away." Liana felt tears prick her eyes, but she kept her voice steady. "Why did you bring them to my home?" Ace sobbed harder. "I didn't. Not on purpose. They followed me. They threatened me. They said you'd pay my debts. I begged them not to hurt you, but they wouldn't listen. I tried. I swear I tried." Silence settled between them like a fragile bridge. He looked at her with broken eyes. "I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect anything. But thank you. Thank you for saving me." Liana exhaled a shaky breath. "I didn't save you for you," she whispered. "I saved you because of who I am." His face crumpled further. She continued, voice soft but unwavering. "I forgive you, Dumile. Truly. But forgiveness is not a key. It doesn't open old doors. It doesn't undo pain. It doesn't mean we walk the same path again." Dumile nodded slowly, tears streaming. He understood. She stepped closer and gently placed her hand over his. He flinched from shock, from emotion, but then gripped her hand weakly. "Live better," she whispered. "Become someone who won't hurt anyone else ever again." He nodded, sobbing silently. She withdrew her hand. "I have to go," she said gently. Will I see you again?" he asked, voice trembling. She looked at him with compassion and finality. "No." Then she turned and walked toward the door. Each step felt like shedding a weight she'd carried for years, a weight made of heartbreak, humiliation, and betrayal. When she reached the exit, she whispered to herself, "I am free." Outside, Kago and Themba waited. "Are you all right?" Themba asked. Liana looked up at the cloudy sky, breathing deeply. "Yes," she said. "For the first time in a long time, I am." But as they escorted her to the car, Liana didn't know that, while she was closing the door to her past, a new door was opening, one filled with power, purpose, and a future brighter than anything she had imagined. The drive back to the estate felt strangely peaceful, almost unreal after the chaos of the past 2 days. Rain had washed the city clean, leaving the streets glistening like polished stone beneath the soft morning light. Inside the car, Liana sat quietly between Kago and Themba, her thoughts drifting through layers of memory, guilt, relief, and something deeper, a growing sense of clarity. Seeing Dumile broken in that hospital bed had changed something in her. Not softened her heart toward him, but sharpened her understanding of her own journey. She had loved him once. She had wanted a simple life with him. But that woman, the woman who begged for crumbs of affection, was gone now. Buried beneath everything she had endured. When the car turned down the long, private road leading to the estate, Liana inhaled deeply. Home. Her home. The place her mother built. The place she was meant to rise in. As the mansion came into view, glowing softly beneath the morning sun, Amaya burst out through the front doors, her expression a whirlwind of relief and worry. "Liana!" she cried, rushing toward the car the moment it stopped. Liana stepped out just as Amaya wrapped her in a fierce hug. "You scared me. You left before sunrise. I thought something had happened." "I'm okay," Liana said, hugging her back. "I needed to see him." Amaya leaned back, searching her friend's face. And I said goodbye." Amaya's expression softened. "For good?" "For good." Naledi appeared in the doorway, hands clasped tightly against her chest. "Child, you have walked through fire," she murmured. "But you came out whole." Liana offered a small smile. "I'm trying." "You're succeeding," Naledi corrected gently. Together, they walked inside the mansion, where warmth and stability embraced Liana like a soft cloak. But she sensed something different today, something new in the way the staff looked at her. Not with curiosity, or with the tentative respect they'd shown when she first arrived, but with quiet reverence, pride, trust. She had earned her place among them, not just as an heiress, but as a leader. Themba cleared his throat. Miss Maseko, there are some matters we need to address whenever you're ready. Liana nodded. Give me 1 hour. In that hour, she showered, dressed in a soft cream blouse and tailored trousers, and tied her hair back into a sleek bun. She wanted to look like herself, not the image of wealth, but the woman beneath it. When she stepped into her mother's study, now her own Themba, Kago, Miss Luthuli, and the head of legal affairs were waiting. Thank you for coming, Liana said, taking her seat at the head of the table. Themba handed her a folder. This contains all information on the men who attacked the estate. Those who survived the arrest have been interrogated. They claim they acted independently, but we suspect a larger organization. Are they connected to Dumile? Liana asked quietly. Kago answered, indirectly. They approached him, not the other way around. But he shared information with them whether willingly or under pressure. Liana closed her eyes briefly. And now? Now they are in custody, Kago said firmly. Your safety is no longer under immediate threat. Liana nodded, relief mixing with a newfound determination. Good. Then we shift our focus to rebuilding and moving forward. Miss. Luthuli cleared her throat. There is also the matter of public relations. News of the attack may leak, and your visit to the hospital was noticed by reporters. Liana's jaw tightened. Of course it was. Themba leaned forward. The question is, how do you want the world to see you? As a victim? As a recluse? As a rising leader? Liana didn't hesitate. As a woman who refuses to be broken, Themba smiled. Then we must craft your image carefully. For the next hour they strategized. Press releases, future public appearances, investments that aligned with her mother's humanitarian values, and ways to expand the scholarship program into rural communities. But beneath all the strategic planning, Liana felt a quiet transformation taking place. She was no longer reacting to her circumstances, she was leading them. When the meeting ended, she stood up. There is something else, she said. Everyone looked at her. I want to create a new foundation, she continued. For women who have been abandoned, mistreated, or trapped in toxic relationships. A place where they can rebuild their lives. Naledi, who had quietly entered the room, gasped softly. Your mother would be so proud. Liana met her eyes. I want to be the kind of woman she raised me to be. Miss Luthuli nodded approvingly. We can begin immediate planning. Liana turned to Themba. Let's. Before she could finish, a soft knock came at the door. A young staff member peeked in nervously. Miss Maseko, there's someone here to see you. Liana frowned. Who? The young woman hesitated. He says, he's your uncle. Liana froze. My uncle? Yes, the staff member replied. He's waiting in the front hall. Liana exchanged a stunned glance with Naledi, who whispered, It must be from your father's side, or your mother's. She cut ties with them decades ago. Her heart pounded. What does he want? The staff member swallowed. He wants to speak about your mother's legacy. Themba stepped forward protectively. We should vet him first. But Liana raised her hand. No, I want to meet him. Naledi protested softly. Child, I need to know where I come from, Liana said firmly. The full truth, not just the part my mother protected me from. She walked out of the study, her steps steady, her heartbeat loud in her ears. In the grand front hall, a tall man with graying hair stood with his hands clasped behind his back. His face was strong, angular, and strangely familiar. He wore a dark suit, elegant and expensive. When he saw her, his eyes widened not with surprise, but with the stunned recognition of someone looking at a ghost. You look just like her, he whispered. Liana stopped several feet away. Who are you? He bowed his head slightly. My name is Kelebogil Maseko. I am your mother's older brother. A tremor ran through Liana's body. My mother never spoke of you. His expression darkened with pain. I know, and I deserve that silence. Why are you here? She asked, her eyes narrowing. He inhaled deeply, then spoke. To warn you. Your mother's enemies have returned. Cold fear gripped her spine. Enemies? She whispered. He nodded gravely. Her wealth, her power, her influence, none of it was gained without making rivals. She walked away from them to protect you. But now that you've stepped into her world, he paused. They will come for you too. Liana's heart pounded, but she lifted her chin unbroken, unshaken. I'm not my mother, she said. No, he replied softly. You might be stronger. 2. She stared at him, her pulse steadying. Then tell me everything, she said. Every secret, every threat, every danger my mother faced. He nodded. And then, she continued, her voice growing fierce, I will face them myself. Hours later, as the sun dipped low behind the hills, she stood alone on her balcony, watching the last light fade. Her uncle's revelations had painted a darker, more complicated picture of her mother's past, one filled with betrayal, power struggles, and enemies who had never stopped watching. But instead of fear, Liana felt something like fire grow within her. Strength, purpose, legacy. She whispered into the wind. I survived heartbreak. I survived betrayal. I survived being broken. She placed a hand over her mother's necklace. And I will survive this too. Behind her, the lights of the estate began to glow strong, unwavering, a symbol of the woman she was becoming. Dusk melted into night over the estate, washing the gardens in shades of amber and indigo as the lamps flickered to life one by one. Liana stood on the balcony long after her uncle had left, long after the last drops of sunlight slipped behind the hills. She didn't want anyone near her, not yet. She needed space to breathe, to absorb the weight of everything she had just learned. Her mother hadn't simply run from a wealthy family. She had run from a war of power, influence, greed, betrayal, one that had followed her until her final breath. And now, knowingly or not, Liana had stepped into the battlefield her mother once escaped. Themba, Amaya, and Kego gave her distance, but she knew they were watching each from their own corner of the estate. She touched her necklace and whispered into the wind, Tell me how to be strong, Mama. End quote. Silence answered her, but not emptiness. The air felt heavy, charged with something alive, something waiting. As midnight approached, Liana finally turned away from the balcony and entered her study. She expected to find solitude, but the soft knock at the door broke that illusion. Come in, she said. Themba entered, carrying a slim folder. His face was thoughtful, though fatigue lingered around his eyes after the long night of security reports and police negotiations. I apologize for disturbing you, he began, but there are matters that cannot wait until morning. Liana sat behind her desk, posture composed. I'm listening. He placed the folder before her. Your uncle, Kelabagile, verified his identity with legal documentation and old letters your mother wrote. He is who he claims to be. I felt it, Liana murmured. There's something in his eyes, something familiar. And is it? Themba nodded. He seems genuinely concerned. He also carries guilt, she added quietly. He said it without words. Themba hesitated before speaking. Do you trust him? Liana looked down at the folder. I don't trust anyone completely. Not yet. A faint smile tugged at the corners of Themba's lips. That's good. Trust is earned, not inherited. He grew more serious. Your uncle's warning may be real. If your mother had enemies, people who resented her power, they may try to test your strength. A spark ignited in Liana's chest. Then let them test me. Themba studied her, pride flickering briefly across his face. You sound like her. She inhaled softly. Do you think I can be as strong as she was? No, Themba replied. Her heart sank until he continued. I think you can be stronger. A breath escaped her, trembling but hopeful. He stepped back. Rest for now. Tomorrow. We prepare your first public appearance since the inheritance announcement. Liana's eyes widened slightly. Already? The world is watching, Themba said. And how you step into the spotlight will define your next chapter. After he left, Liana remained seated for several minutes, staring at her mother's handwritten motto displayed on the wall. Strength is not loud, it is steady. The words anchored her. Morning came with a soft glow that filled the estate like a slow, warm blessing. The staff moved with urgency, stylists preparing outfits, security performing drills, gardeners trimming and perfecting the landscape. Today wasn't just another day. It was the day Liana would introduce herself officially as the leader of the Maseko Empire. Samira, her stylist, entered the room like a burst of sunshine. "Good morning, my jewel. Today is monumental. Today, you become a public force." "Everyone, I'm not trying to be dramatic," Liana said nervously. "Just responsible." Samira laughed warmly. "Confidence and responsibility can hold hands, my dear." She guided Liana to the vanity where Zinla and Kira were already waiting. "We're going for refined power," Samira announced. "Strong lines, warm tones, and eyes that say, 'I bow to no one.'" Zinla began brushing her hair into a sleek, elegant style. Kira applied foundation that highlighted her natural glow. Samira held up several outfits, finally settling on one. A tailored white suit with gold accents, sharp, regal, commanding. "When you walk into that building," Samira said, "everyone will know the Maseko legacy is alive." Liana felt a lump form in her throat. "Thank you," Samira winked. "Go show them who you are." The corporate plaza buzzed with life when Liana arrived. Media vans lined the streets. Photographers gathered behind barriers. Employees waited restlessly, eager for a glimpse of the rumored heiress. As Liana stepped out of the sleek black car, conversations halted. Cameras flashed. Whispers grew. "Is that her? She looks like her mother." "No, stronger, there's something fierce about her." Kago walked ahead, clearing a path, while Themba stayed close behind. Inside the grand lobby, top executives stood waiting. Miss Luthuli stepped forward with a gracious smile. "Miss Maseko, welcome. Everyone is ready for your address." Liana nodded, her breath steadying. She walked into the conference hall where nearly 100 employees, board members, partners, and media representatives gathered. The room hummed with tension and anticipation. She stepped onto the stage. Silence fell instantly. Facing the crowd, she felt her mother's presence like a warm hand on her shoulder. "My name is Liana Nomvula Maseko," she began. "Daughter of Nomvula, heir to her legacy, and leader not because of blood or inheritance, but because I choose to honor her vision." The audience leaned in. "My mother built this empire quietly, humbly, with a heart focused on people. I intend to do the same, but I will do it openly, boldly, fearlessly." Cameras flashed. "There are those who believe I am too young, too inexperienced, too untested." Her voice did not waver. "They will learn that strength does not come from age or wealth, but from purpose." A ripple of approval moved through the room. "I will expand our scholarships, support women's shelters, invest in renewable energy, and increase transparency across all business sectors. This company will honor its history, but will not be bound by its past." Even the board members sat straighter. "And to those who think they can intimidate me," her gaze sharpened, voice like steel wrapped in silk, "you will soon learn that I do not break." Applause erupted, genuine, thunderous, swelling through the hall. For the first time in her life, Liana felt power not as something external, bestowed by inheritance or circumstance, but internal, part of her, something she could wield. After the speech, executives lined up to shake her hand. Employees whispered excitedly. Reporters requested interviews. Amaya, watching from the corner, blinked back tears of pride. "She did it," she whispered to Naledi. "She really did it." Naledi nodded. She was born for this, but not everything was celebration. As Liana left the hall, a young assistant hurried toward her. "Miss Maseko, there's a call on the secured line for you, from an unknown source." Liana frowned. "Did they say anything?" "They said only this. Tell her the past is moving." Cold prickled down her spine. She went to the private office and answered the secure phone. A distorted voice spoke. "You're stronger than she was." Her blood chilled. "But strength attracts storms," the voice continued. "And the storm is almost here." The line went dead. Liana lowered the phone slowly. Her mother's enemies were watching, and they had just declared their next move. But she did not tremble. Instead, she stared at the reflection of herself in the glass wall, powerful, determined, unafraid. She whispered, "I'm ready," because she was no longer the poor woman thrown out with a torn bag. She was the legacy. She was the storm. The night after her public address felt heavier than usual, heavier with anticipation, with shifting politics, with the weight of legacy settling firmly on Liana's shoulders. The estate was calm on the surface, bathed in the soft glow of moonlight, but beneath the tranquility, tension buzzed like a hidden current. Inside the mansion, Liana sat alone in her mother's study, staring at the flickering flame of a single candle. She didn't need the light, the room was bright enough, but something about the flame soothed her, grounding her in a storm she couldn't see but could feel closing in. She thought of the phone call earlier. The past is moving. A threat disguised as a prophecy. A promise draped in shadows. She touched the pendant around her neck, her mother's necklace, and whispered softly, "If they're coming for me, I'm not running." But she wasn't completely certain. Not yet. A soft knock broke her thoughts. "Come in," she said. Amaya stepped inside cautiously. "Everyone is on edge," she said quietly. "The guards are doubling patrols. Themba hasn't slept in 2 days. Even Naledi is praying in the kitchen." Liana looked up with weary eyes. "And you? Are you afraid?" Amaya moved closer and sat across from her. "I'm terrified." Liana exhaled shakily. "I'm sorry." "Don't be," Amaya said gently. "Fear shows we're human, but strength is choosing to keep going anyway." Liana offered a faint smile. "You sound like my mother." "I'll take that as a compliment." For a moment, the room felt lighter, but then Kago entered, his expression tense. "Miss Maseko," he said, bowing respectfully. "There are developments." Liana stood. "What happened?" Kago exchanged a grave look with Amaya before speaking. "The police interrogation of the men who attacked the estate has revealed an unexpected name." "Whose name?" Liana whispered. Kago hesitated. "Your uncle's." Dezid. A chill spread through the room. "No," she breathed. "He warned me. He tried to help. It appears he withheld certain details," Kago said. "He has ties to individuals who once opposed your mother. Ties he claimed were severed." Amaya swore under her breath. "He tricked her. He used her." But Kago raised a hand. "We don't yet know if his involvement is malicious. It may be survival, or fear, or something else. But we do know this: he is connected to the movement targeting you." Liana's heart sank. "He said her enemies were returning," she whispered. "He failed to mention he was once one of them. Perhaps he did not think you would trust him if you knew," Kago replied. Anger flared inside her. "He shouldn't have come at all." Kago stood firm. "Would you like us to detain him?" "No," she said sharply. Amaya blinked. "Why not? He's dangerous." But Liana shook her head. "No. If he came to warn me, even partially, then he's afraid of something, or someone too. If I detain him, I lose information." Kago nodded slowly. "Wise." "Where is he now?" she asked. "He left the estate earlier, but he remains in the city. We're tracking him." "I want to meet him again," Liana said firmly. Amaya gasped. "Are you trying to get yourself killed?" Liana turned to her friend. "No, I'm trying to end the part of my past that my mother ran from. I'm tired of inheriting fear. I want the truth." Kago's gaze sharpened with respect. "Then, we will arrange a controlled meeting, but only on our terms." Liana nodded. "Thank you." The meeting took place the next afternoon, in a private garden pavilion on the far edge of the estate. The air was cool, the scent of wild jasmine drifting through the branches overhead. Guards surrounded the area discreetly, hidden behind foliage. Silent, but alert, Kelabogil arrived, escorted, though not restrained. His expression was troubled, almost haunted as he approached Liana. "You summoned me," he said quietly. "Yes," Liana replied. "I need answers." He paused, studying her face with something like guilt. "You found out," he murmured, "that you once belonged to the same circle my mother fled?" Liana asked. Yes, his shoulders sagged. I expected you would. Why didn't you tell me? Because I feared you would reject me entirely, he answered honestly. Your mother did. She cut off every tie, even mine. She wanted nothing more to do with the empire we were raised in. And I lacked her courage to leave completely. Liana's voice trembled. Did you help those who attacked my home? No, he said firmly. I swear it. But I know who they are, and I know they won't stop until they have what they want. And what do they want? She asked. He looked her directly in the eye. You. Wind rustled the leaves overhead. Your inheritance, he clarified. Your influence. Your mother's power reborn. They believed the Maseko fortune should belong to them. They resented your mother for breaking free, and now they resent you for inheriting everything she built. Liana clenched her fists. So they want me to fall. They want to control you, he said, or remove you entirely. Amaya, who had been listening from the garden's outer edge, stepped forward with fury blazing in her eyes. And what did you want? Kelebagilo lowered his gaze. I wanted redemption. I didn't protect your mother when she needed me. Now, I hoped to warn you before it was too late. Why now? Liana asked quietly. Why come back after all these years? He lifted his gaze, tears welling. Because when I saw you step into her legacy, I saw something I hadn't seen in decades, a Maseko with courage. A Maseko who wasn't ruled by greed. Liana's breath hitched. He knelt suddenly, shocking everyone, including the guards. I beg you, he whispered. Forgive me for my silence, for my cowardice, and let me help you finish the battle she never could. Liana stared at him broken, trembling, remorseful. For the second time in 2 days, someone knelt before her seeking forgiveness, but the choice this time felt different. Liana stepped back, her voice steady yet soft. I don't know if I can forgive you, she said, but I will listen to you, and I won't shut the door on knowledge that could protect my mother's legacy. He bowed his head gratefully. Then let me give you everything. Names, operations, the alliances of the old faction, their weaknesses, their plans. Everyone. Kago stepped forward. We will take him into protective custody. Voluntarily. Kelebagile nodded. Do it, Liana said. As the guards escorted him gently away, Amaya approached Liana. You trust him? She asked. No, Liana replied. But I trust the truth, even if it comes from a tainted voice. By evening, the estate buzzed with urgent activity. Security increased. Intelligence reports arrived. Kelebogale provided valuable information the estate had never had access to. Themba briefed her on new risks, new movements, new opportunities. Amaya kept her close, refusing to leave her side. Naledi lit candles in her mother's honor. And Kago, quiet, powerful, vigilant, watched over her from the shadows. By midnight, Liana stood on the balcony again, staring over the estate that had become both sanctuary and battlefield. Suddenly, the large outdoor screens in the courtyard flickered on. They were connected to the security system, but no one had turned them on. A single message appeared. You took her throne. Now we take you. The screen went black. Liana's reflection shone faintly in the dark glass, but she did not tremble. She did not hide. Instead, she whispered, Come then. In her eyes burned a fire, fierce enough to scorch the entire lineage that wanted her destruction. Because she was no longer just surviving a story, she was rewriting it, for her mother, for herself, for every woman ever underestimated.